Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott McKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, once again, thank you very much for joining Industrial Talk, and thank you for your continued support. We are building a platform, an ecosystem that celebrates industry professionals all around the world. We've got to do that because it is important for you to succeed. And to succeed, you need to educate, collaborate, and definitely innovate. And that's who we highlight on Industrial Talk. In the hot seat, speaking of innovation, in the hot seat, James Ray, Nottingham Spirk. Now, Nottingham Spirk is right outside of Cleveland area, and it is an amazing property and rich with history, but more importantly, they innovate. Let's get cracking. James Ray. Yeah, I went up to Cleveland. There was a manufacturing show up there, and I was very fortunate, very honored to be able to tootle around Nottingham Spirk and see what they have to offer. Some of the products, Navage is one of their products that they do a great job at designing and packaging. They do it from soup to nuts. They are just absolutely brilliant when it comes to these products that truly change our lives. There's other products, but they have a ton of patents. And you go into this room, and it is. And then you go into their rotunda. They have a rotunda in their office. And you'll see, if you're out there on the video, you'll see that they're in a converted church. I don't, maybe Christian Science. I don't remember, but there's a big old pipe organ in there, and you get to see where this guy sits, and it's right next to that. All good. James Ray. And we're going to be talking about products, infusing that IoT, that smart capability into it to be able to make our lives better. And you might want to push back on that. You might say, that's just way too much information. But I got to tell you, it's happening. And companies like Nottingham Spirk, people like James, they're doing it right. So, you just need to know more about it. And especially in the world of industry, it's happening. You can push back. It's important. We need for you to succeed. So again, this ecosystem, Industrial Talk, is definitely dedicated to the education. Speaking of education, I've got 3 webinars that you want to be put on your calendar, and that is, one is about augmented reality, which is really pretty cool. Working with those folks at Area on this, and I'm pretty excited about it. And some of the technologies that out there is transforming industry. Absolutely. Supply chain, we're still having challenges with supply chain, highlighting the professionals, the people that know the supply chain market. We're putting that one together. And then finally, I just want to know more about it. And this is Web3, quantum computing. I just want to know, how is that impacting industry? What does that mean? Let's put our future hat on and let's make that happen. Now, some events that you need to be putting on your calendar. Last year I was at FabTech. We're still going through some great content from that event. This is in Chicago. Look into FabTech. That's FABTECH. I'll be in Vegas in a couple of weeks for Hexagon Live. We've got an Accruent event that's taking place in Nashville, August 7th through the 8th. And then finally, we have SMRP. If you're in the world of maintenance and reliability, we'll be broadcasting from that location as well. An important conference. And it's from last year to this year. I assure you it is growing and it's exciting. This is in Orlando. So anyway, let's get cracking with the conversation with James. Once again, the reality is smart devices are going to be a part of our lives. And you have Nottingham Spirk leading the way, being a part of that. And it's a great conversation. And again, I highly recommend that you go out to the video and check out where he sits, because that's pretty doggone cool too. All right, here's James. James, welcome to Industrial Talk. Thank you very much for finding time in your busy schedule. And if you're out on the video, if you're looking at this conversation on the video, you will be impressed by the stinking organ behind James right there. And in fact, listeners, I was at Nottingham Spirk, and it is dazzling. So it's like a museum for anybody that, I mean, it's cool. So anyway, that's my point.
Yes, very inspiring. Yes.
It is. I really do it. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
No complaints. I get to talk to you.
You're so lucky.
I get to chirp about Nottingham Spirk because apparently I have trading cards in Nottingham Spirk. Hey, check out John Nottingham. Look at that. I get a John Spirk. Hey, But anyway, for the listeners out there, give us a little background into James, and then we're going to get into the role you play at Nottingham Spirk. How's that?
Sounds great. So basically I've been involved in design services for about 25 years and have a background both academically and professionally in RF in general. And so I've been able to leverage that.
You don't RF what?
Radio frequency kind of work.
Thank you.
Sorry. There'll probably be a lot of interruptions. I apologize.
Yeah, well, I'll chop in because you're not dealing with the lightest bulb in the room, that's for sure. So basically in the early days of kind of cellular development, and all the way up until present day where we're doing connected devices. And so I'm the IoT vice president here at Nottingham Spirk and kind of in charge of enabling devices to connect it out to the World Wide Web and exchange information efficiently. So one of the things about Nottingham Spirk that just sort of set my world into a different direction was the simple fact that Nottingham Spirk, as an organization, not to mention the history of the organization, I was fascinated by the design component, but you do all the way from beginning to end, packaging, you do it all, which is very interesting from my perspective. And how long? Because you're into the IoT development. And I have to go down to the consumer side because I got the industry side, but the consumer side is sort of intriguing to me. Do you see an increase in IoT at Nottingham Spirk for consumer devices? When you look at designs, you just sort of go, okay, let's think about how to connect it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's becoming ubiquitous anymore where basically everything is expected to be accessible through your phone, through a dashboard on a website, all the information, the current statuses and control, everybody's kind of expecting that now. It's just assumed to be there. And so when we see devices that are coming in through Nottingham Spirk that are not enabled, we immediately start brainstorming collectively on, the architecture and the technology, what it would require, and start to evaluate what makes sense from a return on investment perspective of getting that device connected and how that end consumer product can really show its value.
Do you think the IoT and a connected device, does it add cost to the final product?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It not only through like one-time cost for the bill of materials, but also just reoccurring cost. And that's where a lot of the ROI kind of has to really take that into account is, over time, is it going to make sense? Is it providing enough value and interest to the general consumer that is justified for that price or whatever pricing scheme the reseller would come up with? When you do that, you go down that road, and I think once again, wherever the price point is, whatever the solution might be to connect that product, hopefully over time will just again be so commoditized and drive the price down dramatically. I don't see how products get developed without being connected. Because I know for me, I want to know. Maybe I'm stupid, but I want to know. Yeah, exactly. You just find it everywhere, so it's expected anymore, and it's a really easy way to enable a lot of functionality for a kind of a really bounded product that doesn't bring a lot of excitement. Once you connect it, it's like, oh, okay, now you can access whatever traits of that product, the current state, or control it in some way. And so now it's a really distinguishing feature versus your competition. And so if you can do that well and make the user experience very intuitive and flow really nice, then you got yourself a winner.
So with that said, is it possible for you to give us an interesting use case of, I don't want you to dive into anything that's proprietary for Nottingham Spirk, but just give us a use case for a consumer connected device.
Yeah, so I would say, let me try to think of a good one that I can talk about, because we do design services. There's a lot of limitations.
I hear you. I don't mean to. I don't want to put you in a bind. All I know is I've got a robot vacuum cleaner that's connected, and I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I would say, maybe some of the more obvious ones are like IoT connected cars, for instance, just being able to remotely start it. So I just recently bought an electric vehicle, and I can remote start it. I can follow the charge state as it's charging. I can get informed of an alarm if somebody goes up and unplugs it while it's charging at a DC fast charger station. So all these features are just all of a sudden enabled. So I'm not thinking of it as a car anymore. It's like an appliance that gives me all this extra functionality that, just, a handful of years ago was not even thought of. And now a lot of the cars offer that.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
It really is. I know that people get into the privacy component. There's that sort of moral component associated with it. And I think smart people like you and Nottingham Spirk will definitely be trailblazing in making sure that everybody's fine. And of course, the cyber side, there's a lot of conversations, but I don't see how you can move forward without that connected. I just don't. I long for the day, James, when a repair person comes knocking on the door and says, "Hey, your refrigerator needs a new, disgruntificator." I don't know what. And we were just receiving that information. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, or something as basic as like it's time to change your air filter on your furnace. It's
I
just
do
like,
a lousy job. I feel like it's shocked. Or beat upside the head.
Yeah, because it's always been, well, you do it every 6 months or time change, or it's tied to something like that. But it's like, at least with me, I'm thinking, okay, does it really need to be changed, or can I go a little bit longer? And so I don't even want to think about it. I want something to like measure the airflow efficiency or whatever and tell me, oh no, you absolutely need to change it, and don't be cheap.
Right. I like that. See, there's a use case. Make it happen. I agree. I fail pretty much all the time on that one.
So do I. You go down there and you're like, oh my gosh.
And then you pull the filter down. It's all sort of been sucking so hard and it's all crinkly. And you go, yep, and I blew it.
Exactly.
I'm putting stress and strain. So with all that said, now you're in Nottingham Spirk. You guys are just now you're embedded. That means there's a tremendous investment in what will be designed going forward. In your history, as I look at your stat card out on LinkedIn, you've got a major stat card here. With this connected mindset, have you begun or have you seen a tremendous increase in simplicity, increase in value, and decrease in, let's say, costs and implementation stuff?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot more kind of options to enable IoT on a device. And so not only are the part costs going down, they're getting smaller, they're getting more efficient, they perform better, they consume less power. All these things are kind of just adding to the attractiveness of a device like that is enabled. And so we're getting a lot of requests in just in the short time that I've been here at Nottingham Spirk, and the team recently joined. It's really exciting time. And we're really looking forward to making a lot of things successful for our customers.
I think it's exciting. I have a question about your electric car.
Yeah.
So we are right outside of New Orleans.
Okay.
And we go to Florida. We'll drive to Florida. Mm-hmm. And the Panhandle is probably no less than 5,000 miles long. Seems like it. I might be exaggerating
slightly.
And every time I do that, I go, how does an electric car drive that Panhandle? And they charge up, and like there's nothing there. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, just like with everything, there's no one solution that fits all, and people need to accept that. I mean, it's a great concept to say, oh yeah, you can break up your trip, and there's all these fast charging stations. It's inconvenient. It's not as convenient as a combustion engine, and so what you have to just realize is it's useful in certain situations. For me personally, I just commute 90 miles round trip every day. And so I charge it overnight. It's like plugging in my cell phone every night. I don't even think about it. I wake up and roll. So it's not you could certainly do a long trip, and I think it'd be kind of a challenge to do that, but more from a logistic standpoint. And anybody with you would be annoyed because it's so inconvenient,
I see them on that 5,000 mile Panhandle, Florida stretch. I'm not exaggerating again. 5,000 miles. I think it's backed up by data.
Absolutely.
So, with all of that said, can you share with us sort of the vision of what's happening within Nottingham Spirk? We focused in on consumer products. I got it, but as well as I, in the world of digital transformation, data's king. Give me the data, and so that I can make decisions, tactical decisions. Can you share with us a little bit about what that future looks like when you say, hey, we're over here, we're doing this?
Yeah, so basically it's a ability for some management, kind of centralized management of devices. That's the big enablement, whether it be a small scale 10 devices or a fleet of things. Somebody or a group of people can basically monitor and make predictions based off that data that's kind of rolling in, whether it be, hey, it's about time to do some kind of an event based on some activity, or just the usage looks unusual. And so that might mean, it's time for a service call or something like that. So there's all these analytics that kind of feed into that dashboard kind of view of monitoring all that data that's rolling in. And that's really where it pays off, is having that level of detail.
Is that a part of the scope of Nottingham Spirk, to be able to have that dashboard platform, to be able to feed the data and then begin tactical, insights into whatever, Bobby?
Oh, absolutely. And so there's already programs that are going on right now that are enabling that functionality of devices that NS has designed, and so that is it's expected, to be honest. If you're enabled, you need to have that dashboard view and be able to manage a large amount of devices or things that are out there in an efficient manner.
Yeah, you do, and then there's that balance, James, between for me, if I was that consumer, or if I was that business, I'm all into the data and looking at it and slicing it and being able to have that flexibility to be able to say, well, you just pull this over here, pull this, and divide it by each other, and that gives me insights into whatever. Do you have conversations around cybersecurity and protection?
Yeah, and that's the initial view of IoT was basically, hey, can we move data? Give me the data. Let's do all this and start to do some things with it. But now it's like the next level of concern is really the security around that, and making sure that people can't, of course, hack your device, take your data, manipulate your data, mislead you, all that kind of stuff. So we have those conversations all the time. That's really the next level expectation, is that not only is it enabled, but it's securely enabled.
Yeah, I think that's a must. And as much as somebody might feel, or some company might feel, I want an air gap or whatever you might think, and I'm not going to collect data. But right now, that your competition's thinking down that and thinking about solutions of collecting data to be able to make better decisions. So you need to. you need to find a trusted company, an organization, individual to help you with that journey. Big time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that security aspect is critical, as well as just the concept around the means of collecting the data, whether it's a camera or whether it's sensors, and so camera is obviously a big flag. Nobody wants their video and their likeness captured and shared. And so maybe there's a more secure way of gathering the same information to make that conclusion, but in a different way. And so those are the kind of the next steps that the ENS team here is able to really focus on user experience and do the research of what will make the product successful in the market that's intended for.
So I always get excited. I always have these conversations. I remember long ago I was trying to pull data off of a transformer, a large transformer, and dissolved gases. And at that time, we just didn't have the technical capabilities of being able to pull this tsunami of data. Now we do. We have the ability, and then you can slice and dice and remove the data that's just noise or whatever, irrelevant, and then retain the ones that are definitely valuable. All right, we got to wrap it up. You were great. How do people get a hold of you if they say, hey, I want to know?
So certainly they can reach out to me. My mugshot is on LinkedIn.
and
it will be updated.
So don't go out there now.
Good healthy feedback. But certainly through there, or just contacting me at Nottingham Spirk. My email address is jray@nottinghamspirk.com.
There it is, man. J-Ray. I'll have all the contact information for James out on Industrial Talk. And by the way, you've got to look at this video. And the reason you got to look at the video, he's got a pipe organ behind him, and he doesn't even care. He's so used to the pipe organ and behind him just because he can, and you can't, but he can.
If we had more time, I'd play Toccata and Fugue in D minor or something, and really impress your audience.
There you go.
Sorry, not
enough time. Look at that, baby. All right, listeners, we're going to wrap it up on the other side. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
It is truly an exciting time to be in industry. I wish I was younger. I wish I was a part of this genesis, this juggernaut, this Renaissance period as we start to talk about all of the innovation that has taken place within industry. It's an exciting time. Your obligation as an industrial professional is you need to be advocates for individuals to take on the role of industry and be a part of this fabulous, and I mean fabulous. You're the star in this whole conversation. Run with that. Expand your brand. Come on, Industrial Talk. I'd be more than happy to have that conversation just because I geek out on all of this stuff. All right, again, we're going to have 3 webinars. They're on demand. Don't worry about it. They're on demand. One, of course, is quantum computing, just because I want to know more about it. The other one's around supply chain, because we're still challenged with it. And the last one, but not least, is, of course, the one on augmented reality. Be bold, be brave, dare greatly. We're going to have another great conversation shortly.